Surprise video! I know I don't normally post this often, but I decided in honor of getting that bad apple removed from the website and getting the chance to connect with some creators I've enjoyed watching in the past, I do a quick little project to keep you all fed while I work on my most daring video yet, the Zelda timeline video. I think I have a few unique and fun little ideas for everyone, so keep an eye out for that when it comes out. Without further ado, enjoy the comment response collaboration.
Alright, going in about 5 seconds. Ready? We are back with another comment section breakdown. Today, we're going to be going over the comments in Audie's most recent Left 4 Dead video.
Today we're doing a collaborative comment response to Audie Bill's "Why do the Left 4 Dead 2 survivors act like they've never seen a zombie?"
We'll be discussing common comments, giving our own thoughts, and reviewing alternative theories given by the audience.
So, let's start with the most direct responses to the question. Why do the Left 4 Dead 2 survivors say they've never seen a zombie before?
Guys, it's 'cause they're not zombies, they're vampires.
I'm down!
First things first, I'm gonna have to throw a little sass around here at some of the regular internet party poopers I got in this video. Let's cover everyone who's correcting me in the comments, calling them zombies and not infected. They haven't seen zombies because they're not zombies, they're infected. Okay, buddy, I understand. Okay, technically, the Left 4 Dead zombies are not actually zombies, but throughout the game, the Left 4 Dead 2 survivors don't call them infected, at least not right away. They start by addressing them as zombies. I thought about this when I was titling the video, but I had assumed it wouldn't be a problem, since the dialogue I use in the video is of them using the word zombie, not the word infected. Clearly though, I underestimated the urge for people on the internet to correct others, so yes, in case you were wondering, I have read your comment telling me they are not really zombies. But wait, actually, according to some people, all of us are wrong. They're not zombies or infected, because it's just a video game. Now that's crazy, because I thought this was real life. I thought I really was Rochelle, and I'm fighting real zombies in real life. What's the point of the video? I wanted to make the video. That's the point of the video. Who cares me? Clearly, I'm the one who made the video. There's not some deep philosophical goal to my channel, guys, despite how whimsical and introspective some of the stuff I've made can be. I really just wanted to make a theory, so I did. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, we can address the comments from people who are just having fun, playing along, and making their own theories. Let's start with the survivors are carriers. Couldn't they have just infected everyone on the way up? At first, I generally dismissed these comments as not paying attention. How could they be infected already? They haven't seen a zombie? That's kind of the point of the video. But as we learn in the sacrifice comic, the virus is already airborne within a certain range, and the survivors easily could have picked it up on their way to the evac zone. It's not a silly assumption to think that by the time they got their ticket to evac or got into the building, it was simply a mad dash for the top, Sita's abandoning the hotel. That was my theory anyway. Maybe there wasn't a quarantine at all, or maybe Sita didn't realize it was airborne until it was way too late. Maybe they decided the hotel was compromised and stopped taking people who have already been there for days, just letting everyone know they'd be abandoning them and leaving them for dead, haha, very surely. I asked Cookies to respond directly to a comment that was talking about how Sita may have been compromised, and another on how the survivors may have ended up at the evac the way they did.
So in this comment, he talks about the Sita hazard suits, which I have a decent sized chunk in one of my unsolved mystery videos. The main point is like, how did the Sita suit people become infected? And the question is, the suits are airtight, which, you know, you shoot at them and then they have air come out. They're infected in it, right? You can see how this can kind of be a problem. My personal theory could be foodborne in like quotation marks, because obviously we don't see any actual Sita supplied food, but you could assume that whatever the people were eating may have gotten infected or contaminated at some point. It would explain why they're like infected in the suits. Maybe take a little bit of time, they become infected, they put on the suits, and then that's how they become infected while it's also airtight. Again, there's no like concrete evidence of that food necessarily existing. Like there's nothing I can really pull from that's physical. And then there's sometimes that when you do shoot the people, no air comes out of it. So you could say some of them aren't airtight, which is how those got infected. infected. But you could also explain that away with it being a video game. Depending on where you shoot the CETA suit survivors, it will play the sound or it won't play the sound. There's also the simple one of, instead of the food being contaminated, it could have been their suits. Whatever containment or vehicle or wherever they were housing their suits, it was also possible that the suits could have been contaminated. We do know that they had decontamination areas at a lot of their testing facilities. Like in the parish, in the version that was cut, there's like these discs in the room that will decontaminate people as they go through a certain subsect of the parish. But it's kind of hard. It's a video game, right? This part's not going to be long. I'm just going to say why that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so for this comment, I can't say his name either, but LUXEL 3365. He says that all 4 of them were staying at the hotel, that they have to share a single room with each other since the hotel was overloaded. And then he goes on to say all of them were sleeping through the night without much worry since they haven't realized the apocalypse started. So I'm just going to pause here. There's many things that are wrong with this statement. First of all 4 of them staying at the hotel. 2 reasons why this doesn't make sense. The first one is that they would have had wristbands, or they would have had some identifying thing on their character to show that they got through this CETA testing center, like at the front bottom part of the savannah. So they don't have that. And then the second one is their voice lines where they introduce themselves. That wouldn't make sense, since if they were staying in the same room, as this person says, where he says, quote, share a single room with each other, that wouldn't make sense. Like, how would you not know the person's name you're like sleeping and sharing a room with? Like, what? So that doesn't make sense. All of them sleeping through the night without knowing that the apocalypse has started, that is at the very least false, because even if you want to assume that Coach, Nick, Ellis didn't know, even though that's arguably also false, Rochelle would have known because she's in the news, so she would have had a lot of special information. There's also the fact that Ellis talked about making the car because of the apocalypse. He wanted to kind of get ahead of the curve, right? So it's like, how would they know the apocalypse hasn't started? But also this sounds kind of like it's contradicting itself, because it's like, why were they at the hotel in the first place? If they went to the hotel because they wanted to get evac because they knew the apocalypse was started, unless this comment is hinging that they were just randomly at the hotel, which doesn't really make sense. I mean, they do end up to just happen to be there at the same time, of course. It doesn't really match with their voice lines is the biggest part. And then it says here they were waiting for CETA. They were waiting for CETA to decide what to do next. So that also doesn't make sense, because it's like, if you're under the assumption that they're there randomly, why would they care what CETA says? Why would they even like really know who CETA is? They would like only really listen to CETA if they knew that the apocalypse was starting. But this person says that they haven't realized it started. So I'm starting to think this person is schizophrenic.
The idea that the CETA suits are compromised from the inside is a strong and unique argument, and while their idea differs from how this would cause an outbreak, there was a comment that posited contaminated food could be a vector for infection as well. The natural continuation of topics within the video is obviously turn time. Now, my theory is, why do they say they'd never seen a zombie? But the actual investigation I partake in the video is really on the probability that the survivors could walk through the hotel with people who are infected but not turned, and then walk back down the stairs to see a bunch of people who are now very clearly no longer human. There is of course an issue with the route you have to take up to the roof, forcing you to walk across multiple floors, increasing the chance they'll see a zombie. So while we could say that what drew the massive hordes we fight through later on in the hotel was the helicopter noise or the boomer bile vial, or like, I don't know, the evac shut down and got overrun and stopped maintaining its quarantine line, there's clearly people inside the hotel who are not already infected. Otherwise, they'd have sprinted up behind the survivors at full speed to get to them on the roof. This is especially clear because all the zombies on the first floor you walk through are in their idle animations. I think anyone on the lower floors would have had significantly more time to change than the top one, even up to 15 minutes. This comment I got about the helicopter travel speed rocks, and I really should have thought to do this math on it myself because it's great for my argument. There's one issue with the comment though, which is they assume the survivors go much farther than they do. The helicopter pilot, even if you don't want to take into account the cut dialogue of him changing, turns while the survivors are inside Fairfield, Pennsylvania, which many have come to believe is meant to be the equivalent of the city of Philadelphia. Philadelphia is anywhere from 10 to 14 miles across according to Google. Google also tells me civilian helicopters, like the news one we get on, go between 75 to 150 miles per hour. This is similar to what the commenter described, but I'm going with lowest values here. I'll assume we're going 75 miles per hour because we were just picked up taking off from the hospital, and doing the math at the widest points of the city, just for cushioning, for him to turn into a zombie while still being inside the map for Crash Course would require it to happen at most around 11.2 minutes after you take off from Mercy Hospital, assuming they're traveling from the very edge of the city to the other. I'm gonna assume Mercy Hospital is not at the very edge, farthest point of the city, and cut that time in half to about maybe 6 minutes. That, plus the roughly 10-minute turn time I concluded in my video, gets us like a 16-minute long infection to turn time. We also have no idea how long the helicopter managed to stay flying before crashing after the pilot died, since it wouldn't stop dead and fall straight downwards like a cartoon if you suddenly let go of the controls. In reality, major city center to downtown by helicopter shouldn't actually take you more than 5 minutes, which is why, while it's cut from the game, I do believe the pilot turning almost immediately after pickup, that is within 1 or 2 minutes, is the most accurate interpretation of events. This solidifies my argument from a range of 10 to 15 minutes to a more than likely near exact 12-minute turn time for our unfortunate pilot after being bitten. Also, I did remember seeing a comment that I can't find now arguing if the pilot was even bitten or not. This is confirmed in the Sacrifice comic by Francis, and the audio of him saying he had an incident and will be delayed in-game. So I'm gonna say a very confident yes, it is 100% confirmed the pilot was bitten around 8 to 10 minutes before he picks you up. The second comment I need to discuss about turn time is Church Guy. Oh boy, did I get about 600 comments about how the Church Guy turned in like 30 seconds after you get to him. Guys, no he doesn't. He tells you how long it takes him to turn in the game.
It's been an hour. It's been an hour? Like, must be immune. That's right. It must be immune. No, I have to be immune.
He has no clock with him to confirm this, but I'm gonna trust, based off how much is written on the walls, that he's been in there for at least half an hour. He is probably the worst possible example you could pick for determining time in all of the lore. As convincing as I find myself to be, though, with these arguments, Payne had some conflicting ideas in terms of the theory, turn times as they're presented in-game, and other related comments.
Alright, so the first comment that I'm going to refer to is the one that starts out as also Audi. It is said that being in close proximity to carriers speeds up the infection rate, so the idea that the evac zone had other survivors as the 4 were running up the stairs, being within proximity of carriers, it could have made the change of the other survivors change 4 times faster than normal. Okay, so my genuine take on this is that there isn't just a single transition time from healthy to infected, because yes, it depends on if you're bitten or if you're just exposed to particles in the air, but it's also reliant on your own immune system, and that's clear because if you look at people like the helicopter pilot who dies somewhere over Philadelphia, that gives you quite a lot of time with that individual before he actually turns. The Church Guy, on the other hand, is obviously bitten. He says it in his dialogue multiple times, and it takes him quite a while to change. Now, we don't know how long it takes exactly, but as you can see in the church, he had enough time to pretty much cover the walls and all of his scribblings, and so it was at least a few hours after the bite. So to quickly summarize, I think obviously bites will transform an individual into an infected significantly quicker than just being exposed. But it also depends on your interpretation of the lore. Yes, I know that there are audio logs that actually have the pilot claiming he's been bitten and then he turns in the helicopter, but since that's actually cut content, it's difficult to use that as a basis for this argument. And to address the second part of the comment, it's not necessarily that the military was fighting the carriers, it's just that the population in general saw the military killing individuals that were healthy or not healthy based on the idea that they might be carriers, and so obviously civilians decided to fight back against that because they had no other choice. While you're playing through the parish, you can see mounds of dead bodies that were assumably shot by military personnel, and the truth of the matter is that there are way too many individuals there for it to only be dead carriers. As far as we know, The 4 survivors from Left 4 Dead 1 are actually the only carriers that survived in Fairfield, meaning that it's such a minuscule part of the population that a single pile of those dead bodies in the parish, which can number anywhere from 30 to 40 people, is just far too many individuals for it to simply be dead carriers. And obviously you have to look at this through a glazed lens, because at the end of the day we can't verify there's no other survivors in the Left 4 Dead maps because Valve didn't put them in the game. But based on my assumption that our 4 Left 4 Dead 1 survivors are the only people that survived in Fairfield, Pennsylvania, which is a fictional city based off of Philadelphia, the real world Philadelphia has a population of about 1,600,000 people, and 4 divided by 1,600,000 is such a small amount of the population. It is 0.0000025% of the population. Therefore, you would only see 1 or 2 carriers every 100,000 people, if that. And to address the final part of this comment, I just want to start off by saying yes, obviously the zombies are attracted to noise. But if the zombies that are seen throughout the hotel were drawn in by that noise, then ideally they would all be on the top of the building and not spread throughout. They would have scaled the walls to get all the way to the top, which they didn't. Meaning that those people must have been human, and that's why they didn't react to the helicopter taking off.
We disagree with each other on some parts, particularly about the validity of cut content and how long Church Guy must have really been up in that room, which in this case, I'll count as a win because he assumes it could have been multiple hours even. There's also some agreement on certain topics, like the fact that people on the top floors of the hotel are fully idle, not responding the way you'd expect if they were already zombies at the time of the helicopter leaving the roof, etc. There's a few comments I found pretty funny, namely a lot of the comments about Ellis. Many were just meant to be jokes, some of them are just a bit silly or personal headcanons against all logic, like Ellis is the guy who made the Crash Course truck, which is my headcanon too, let's be real. Others are high-key just incredibly sad and are more than likely the truth of the matter with that character. Moving on, there was another comment that I found silly at first that Cons was actually extremely interested in and decided was the only topic he wanted to focus on.
Alright, so the first couple of sentences of this comment. In universe, there are some hints that turning into a zombie can be triggered by sound, like the guy in the church when he rings the bell. So maybe the hotel was actually full of infected people who hadn't turned yet, and the survivors were screened and confirmed to be clean, unlike other people still throughout the hotel. Okay, this touches on something that I've been wanting to talk about for a very, very long time in the Left 4 Dead universe. The time to turn into a zombie it's all over the place, and it's really hard to pin down. Impossible, even, because it's almost like it's constantly mutating or something. We've seen people turn in a couple of minutes. We've seen people turn in about a half an hour. We've seen people turn in a couple of seconds. When I did my breakdown of Death Toll, and you got to chapter 3, and I had to talk about the church guy turning into a zombie, I chalked it up to a gameplay gimmick because I couldn't explain it. Like, we've seen people turn into zombies really fast. We've never seen someone basically skip the common infected part and then just immediately transform into a special infected. That's never happened before. Like, maybe Valve was just messing around with, wanted a cool gameplay gimmick for this chapter, so, And that's why I got a comment from someone who pointed out that in the Sacrifice comic, I believe it's part 2, while Fort Millhaven is under attack, you could see a boomer wearing a military vest, implying that he turned into a special infected literally just now while Fort Millhaven was being attacked, which is fucking crazy. So what's the common thing here? We have 2 examples of a recently infected person turning into a special infected at unprecedented speeds. Even if the church guy, let's say it wasn't 1 hour, even 45 minutes to 30 minutes is still a while. We've still never seen someone turn into a special infected immediately. We've never seen that, except for the church guy and this random fucking soldier in the Sacrifice comic. But what did these 2 things have in common? Well, in both scenarios, there was a very, very, very loud sound in the background. For the church guy, it's the bell ringing, and in Fort Millhaven, the alarm is blaring. Based on that, does sound actually play a part in the time to turn? Because in these 2 examples, it's the one thing that's common between them. Instead of turning into a common infected, they just skip that part and turn into a special infected. On top of the horrifying implications that the green flu is essentially getting better and more efficient, like turning people into zombies. The fact that sound may or may not actually play a factor in the time to turn is nuts. There's a lot of gray area in Left 4 Dead, especially in the lore, and we all know the infected love sound. So does that actually play a factor? Maybe. Maybe. That's the implication, at least. That guy turned so fast, even faster than the church guy did. Like, way faster. Again, that's a lot of speculation, but I can't shake the fact that the things that are common here is the very loud sound. Is it possible that the military knows sound can perhaps lead to faster turn rates? They've definitely done their fair share of testing at that point in the story, and that's the other confusing part about the beginning of Dead Center and how they even got in. CETA definitely should have known about carriers at that point, like we talked about, and there should have been some kind of screening. So how they even got in the hotel is a mystery. But to go back to the sound topic for a second, they knew sound attracts them. 100%. I don't think they specifically know that sound can lead to a faster turn rate because we only have two very specific examples and they are consistent with each other and they take place at very different times as well. It leads credence to the idea that it could play a factor, but at the same time, it could be a coincidence.
I can't say I agree with it, but after hearing the idea explained with examples, it's not as silly as I originally thought. The last common comment that I want to mention is people talking about Zoe and how fast her mom changes in the comic. I didn't include this because honestly, I didn't think about it while making the video. I hesitate to use it now though in general since it's impossible to tell time from a comic, but I will agree that even if Zoe was put on hold for a while, it doesn't really feel like it was more than a few minutes. Just taking into account how long we think she'd just stand there at the phone without making any other attempt to check on her mom, maybe 10 at most. I can't put a number on it, but I will file it as a point of evidence for turning considerably faster than you might expect. And that's it. That's the video. Thank you to everyone who responded. Reminder, I am reading every single comment I get. Here are some special mentions of comments that were really funny, stood out to me, as well as a quick scroll of some theories that I really liked as well. Again, my next video is meant to be the Zelda timeline theory, which I somehow thought I'd be able to get done in a month and a half. Don't expect it to be out by Christmas unless a miracle happens. More than likely, it won't be out until sometime in late January. Thanks for everyone who stuck around to the end. Quick mention to like and subscribe, and also I have memberships open on the channel, so if you want to do that, you'll get my videos a day early, as well as a little badge and some custom emotes to comment with. Bye-bye! This game is so loud, I always forget.
I love being in Hawaii.
Oh, I
man.
shot
It's
you.
so fun.
I almost shot you.
Dude, we just...
I know.
All right, I got a pipe.
I don't like how you said that.
Valid.
It scared me. Where are you going?
Moving.
Can you?
Oh, in
Oh,
a secret way. Oh.
I'm
Oh.
stuck, guys. You're both down below me, and I'm stuck here. For you, I was like, where did you get down at? Guys, I can't make that jump. I tried. No, run! Oh, we got him.
Don't worry, Coach.
On expert mode. I told you this level's easy.
I think we should
Easy.
do Globtastic on expert
No.
realism.
Yeah,
No.
I was gonna say let's do it. Load it up right now.
That wasn't
let's
hard
do it.
at all.
And you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Going in about 5 seconds.
Okay.
We are back with another comment section.
Oh, fuck! That's my fault. I'm so sorry. Stop
Restarting in
recording.
5
Stop
seconds.
recording. Stop recording.